reaching out to them. You know what I mean? Now it's even more like you can reach out to way more people easier. And
Oh yeah.
people still
Well,
don't do
the
it.
information's there. I mean, it's there, and but what I love what you're doing, Michael, is you're going to put it all together for people. Maybe if they'll look at that, because
Mhm.
you can find what you need to know, but you got to be willing to hunt and spend the time.
Oh yeah.
Do. But what you're
They,
doing
you
is
know what? They want the
really
cliff
helpful.
notes on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
My M Legend used to say, people be like, "Hey, how did you make a film?" He's like, "Read this book, read this book." No, just tell me.
Yeah. You
People,
know what?
people want the cliff notes.
I
Nobody wants to
had
study.
I
No,
have
they don't want to read and study.
I have two nephews who are in the music industry. They're more on the independent side, but they were getting contracts and all this stuff. And my older brother was in the music industry. I was actually working on a record deal at one point, and I was reading certain books. My dad made me read books before I was doing the record, before we were negotiating, and well, while we were doing production. So my nephew comes up to me, he's like, "Uncle Michael, what do I need to know about the music industry, and how do I do this?" And I said, "Read these two books, and we'll talk." Why I gotta read the books? You got to, don't you just tell me? I'm like, see, if you're not serious, if you're not willing to do the education. I said two books. One book is so thin. It's called this. It's called Music Business 101. And the other one was called This Business of Music. And I was just like, man, I read those books plus some others. That's why I said, well, nah, we're not going to do this deal. I didn't like what they were offering, what they're doing. But my nephews don't understand that. And I said, this is how you got with that contract, those 360 deals and those other them really back end shady contracts, and not even a 360 deal, because you yourself don't understand. And you don't want to. You want somebody to tell you, but I can't tell you every single thing. And yeah, some things do come with experience, but I studied people. That was the other thing I get on people about. Study somebody. Like my dad made me study Sam Cooke, and see what was going on with Sam, how he ran things, because people were afraid of Sam Cooke. Like he owned his stuff, and he was empowering his artists. So for what happened to him, that's the shady stuff, but we have to understand that, because the story of TLC is not new. The story of Tony Braxton is not new. Prince is not new. None of this is new, but we have always been creators. And so if we now we have all these people around us, and the industry shifts. Like someone told me a long, long time ago, you don't need the industry needs you. If it had no artists, it had nothing to sell. It's a bunch of middlemen selling product. And so when I start thinking like, well, what do you mean? Like, all the guy does is they're going to advertise your stuff. You're going to create it. So why does somebody who doesn't create it or anything have control? And the one thing that someone said in business to me was, the person with the most money is going to own your stuff, because if they're putting up all their money, they're going to get ownership. So what are you putting in to make sure you maintain some level of ownership? And that's kind of what I was learning. But we're on. I'm sorry.
No. I like the, I don't like coming in and we're just sitting there. I like the I like the pre-talk. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Brandon. What's up,
Good morning, Hank.
Good morning,
guys.
Everybody. You ready?
Yeah, let me get that.
Michael's going to bring us in, and then we'll get started. We have special guests today. Some of my favorite people. My
Ditto.
on here. Go ahead, Michael.
All right, let's go. Let's shoot over to the video. Let's do the introduction, y'all. Oops, there we go. Welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge, where the independent filmmakers, whether novice or professionals, come together to gain insight and perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry-backed standards and practices that will advance the Black independent film community. We're your hosts, Michael Melvin and Tamira T.K. Henderson. We'd like to welcome y'all to the show, the Black Filmmakers Lounge, creating our own space to succeed together. Good morning. We have special guests, Linda and Harry Eaddy.
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
Good morning.
Should we introduce our special guest before we go into what you're watching?
I'm gonna let TK do it. I started, but I'm gonna let TK do it because TK has been working with them for a long time. So I want to give her the honors. There you go, my sister.
Oh, so you want me to introduce him first before we do
Yes,
what you're watching?
ma'am.
Okay,
Go
we're
ahead.
gonna introduce our special guest, then we'll do what you're watching. Okay. So my special guests are the fabulous Linda and Harry Eaddy. This is my first family of Denton, Texas. So they're coming all the way out of Texas for you Texas people. Hey, we homegrown today. Um, God literally moved me to Crum, Texas. The first Sunday I'm there. I go visit Morris Street Baptist Church, and I'm looking for Sunday school, and I ran into Mr. Harry Eaddy in the hallway. I'm like, "Where's Sunday school?" He's like, "I'm doing a film festival." Well, he either asked me was I looking for the college class or the no, I think he asked me that. I think he asked me that second. If I was looking for the college class or the adult class, I was like, "Oh, well, thank you." But he's like, "I'm doing a film festival." And I was like, "Okay, I'm a screenwriter, but where's Sunday school?" And so from there, that they were in the stages of creating, they were actually in the moment of creating the Denton Black Film Festival. And so we will let them talk a little bit on how that got started and how everything transpired and where they are now. Hey, cousin Darrell, that's my cousin. And go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I said, "What's up, Darrell?"
Oh, you're talking about what's up. So anyway, so we'll let them tell you a little bit more about their story when we get into the next segment. But first, we're going to go in what you're watching. So come on, people. What are you watching this week? I'll let you go first since you guys are our special guests. What did you watch this week? I know you're watching content for the
Oh,
film
yeah.
festival.
I'm watching a lot of content, so there's not necessarily a lot of time for other things, but occasionally I'll watch. I guess this week, one thing I did watch was a little series, The Watcher. I'd heard a lot about it, and I checked it out, and it was interesting. I thought the ending was real interesting to me because it was like, how is it going to end? And then I thought it ended, but then it kept going. It kind of had some layers to the ending. So
Oh, wow.
it was interesting. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to see an advanced screening of Till, and so that was,
Ooh.
a very interesting movie. So we'll see what people think about it. I thought the acting was very good, but it's a very difficult subject for me to think about. It was interesting to see the film, but I thought they did a good job. But again, I'm still processing it, so
Mm,
we'll see what people think about it once it is released. I can't remember if it's released this weekend or not, but it should be released very soon.
I think
wow.
it's this weekend. It's
Yeah,
selected theaters kind of thing.
Is
So
it
yeah,
this weekend?
right.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look for it. I may go check it out.
Yeah, the other thing we watched a couple weeks ago was a documentary that will premiere at the festival. It's about William Greaves. I think your audience may know a little bit about that, but that's something that we watched as well.
Okay. Okay. Crystal says she's watching Raising Canaan.
Yeah.
Started watching The Watcher and Family Business.
Hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
Michael.
Oh, you want me? I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you
Me?
go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched three things. Look, I can literally wait, how long have I been gone? 3 weeks.
2 weeks.
Well,
Oh, was
I
it
can tell you
3?
what I watched. I can tell you what I watched this week. I did write it down this week and last week, I think. Because I've been watching content as well for the film festival. But I watched the Redeem Team, which is about the 2018 USA Basketball Olympic team.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely phenomenal. That documentary was amazing. You guys know I love sports documentaries, but it was absolutely amazing. But it's called The Redeem Team on Netflix. I watched I started watching The Playlist,
Okay.
which is interesting. It's about the guy who came up with Spotify.
Okay.
It's interesting because they jump time a lot, and when you jump time, it's interesting how people jump time, but they leave the heart out. So it's interesting how he did, go through the steps and get everything done, and the lawyers, and they're talking about the industry, they're talking about all of that. So that's all interesting. But yeah, it's just interesting when you jump time, how sometimes you can leave the heart out of a story. But I also watched one of the greatest movies, I think, which is I know I'm reading derails. Abbott Elementary from scratch. Is Abbott Elementary back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Season
the new
2?
season.
Okay. Curse of Bridge Hollow, Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Cool, Dorel. I watched so one of the greatest movies I think is called The Greatest Showman.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the choreography, the singing, the storylines, the acting, and the editing of that movie, I was so impressed with. So I went back and watched it again last night. So it's one of those. I really like that movie. Let's see.
Thank you for sharing. I have to check. Wait, is that the one with after Zac Efron and Hugh Jack?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have yet to watch it. I've been meaning to watch it.
In Time Palace. Huh.
So there's Hank's watching. That's what Hank's been watching, and then Derek is watching Halloween. Brandon. I'm sorry, Brandon. Man, okay. I haven't watched that yet. I've been
Brandon
meaning to
is
watch
our horror movie guy. He's our horror movie guy.
Yeah.
Brandon is someone. Yeah, you guys definitely should know Brandon. Brandon as well. Brandon. Hank is in Oklahoma. We have a lot of people doing some great things. Crystal, congratulations, Crystal, on your first camera. Tone doing a lot of filming and stuff. Awesome. Tone said no TV for me, doing DCP, CRU preparation for a film to be ready for theater screening, which is a major challenge for me. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Preferably you got people coming in to help you as well. So to help you overcome that and get it done. Like, Hank.
What?
Brandon. Hank said Halloween Ends was the worst. The worst. Not the worst. The worst.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Brandon. All right, Michael. We're ready for your list.
Hold on one second. I was trying to find something. It disappeared. There we go. I think I hit the screen.
I know.
Yeah, your name disappeared. I'll fix that in 2 seconds. So it's been a morning. So I saw Black Adam in the theaters, and it's a cool movie. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I've heard a lot of reviews about it that I don't totally 100% agree with, but it was a very fun movie to check out. And The Rock did his thing. Then I watched this film called Jaxie on Netflix, and that is crazy. It is about the cell phone. It's about a guy who's so busy on his cell phone all the time. He grows up spending way too much time using his phone, like people today, that he has phone addiction. So he gets this new cell phone with this new operating system that gets into his whole life. And its objective is to make his life better until it has a twist. It was funny. It was fun. It's a little raunchy, so you got to be mindful of that. I always throw that out there for people. It's not for kids.
It's not
yeah, it's definitely not for kids. It's probably not for TK. I don't know. There's funny parts in it, TK, you can walk away with. It's crazy. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
I was watching Andor, of course, the Book of Kanan Power, book 3, Cop Shop, which is on Peacock. That was a movie that came out last year or earlier this year. It was a really good movie. It has a black lead in it, even though it has these really known people, Gerard Butler. I forgot the other gentleman's name right now, but it has a black young lady. She's lead. I've seen her in other stuff, and she plays a really good part. It's called Cop Shop. So check it out. It's on Peacock. And then I watched the cartoon animated series, not animated, cartoon movie, The Bad Guys, which is on Peacock too. I ended up watching those the same day because I've actually, I've been dealing with something, so I've been sitting at home. Hank said he loved Cop Shop. There you go, Hank. See, it was fun.
Okay.
It's very.
Check it out, Cop Shop.
Okay, so TK, it's
What?
a violent movie.
Okay, so it's violent.
It's not scary. It's like, I can't think of a movie that connects like similar to it, or but it's, you know what, it's a Precinct 13 type of movie where this guy gets locked up and people are coming to get him while he's in jail.
Okay.
So that's the premises. He's like, he became a rat, and they're coming to knock him out, and like it's really good. It's really good. I enjoyed it. What's on Peacock now that I'm probably going to check out this weekend is called Beast with Idris Elba, because I did not get a chance to go to the theaters, but I recognized that it was available on Peacock 2 weeks ago, actually. So if you haven't seen it.
Speaking of, when we talk about distribution and stuff, Peacock is doing that. So movies that are released in the theaters, which they had been doing, but for some reason it seems like Peacock is picking up more of them. I don't know, maybe it's just me. It's probably HBO Max because I don't have that one. But Peacock, because something else came out, and I was going to go to the theater and see. I did go to the theater to see it. No, that was with Sterling K and Regina Hall. What was the movie that?
Honk for Jesus.
Honk for Jesus.
It came out on Peacock too at the same time as it came out. Basically, the same time it came out in the theater. So Peacock is getting, well, I guess they're NBC. So and whoever owns NBC.
Yeah, it's Peacock and Paramount that do that a lot, and HBO Max does it, but it's after, usually about 2 weeks to 3 weeks after the movie's been released.
Right.
HBO does it. Although there are some movies that are being released at the same time, like Halloween Ends came out on, I think it was Paramount, the same time it came in the theaters.
So yeah, they're gonna get you at home. They're gonna get you in the theater, but they're gonna get you. That's for sure. You're gonna watch the movie. You're gonna watch the movie,
right? One way or another. And I'm gonna throw in one thing on my list this week too. It just opened, I think, yesterday. Descendants.
Okay.
It's going to be on Netflix. It's a documentary. It did well, I think, at Sundance, and it looks like a really interesting story. If you like history, our history, you need to check it out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I watch that stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's like the last slave ship that came in, but the repercussions and things that are happening to this community today. So,
wow.
I think it's a must see.
I'll definitely check that out for sure. And Brandon said he also saw the Redeem Team. TK loved it. Didn't know the U.S. went through all of those losses before redeeming themselves. Cool to see the bond between those guys, Kobe and those guys. It was really good, guys. But we're gonna shift and go into our special guest. And one thing about these two people I did not mention is when I got to Denton, they were the first family that opened their arms to me. They opened their homes. They invited me to family functions, holidays, everything. So that's why they are legit my first family, because they did all that. And Miss Linda sent me pictures like a month ago, and all of these pictures of me in different places. And she was like, "I miss you." And I was like, "Oh my God." Like, she took the time to send me all these different pictures over the years of me knowing them, just like 5 or 6 pictures, but they were for different times. And then I was able to see them. Was that just last week? We had lunch.
Yeah, right. We were on that road trip. We were in Atlanta.
Yeah, like a week and a half ago. They stopped through Atlanta, and so I was able to meet them for lunch, and they took time out to come and see me and spend some moments with me. So this is why they are my first family. But if you guys have any questions go ahead and add them in the chat about film festivals. We're gonna go ahead and let them get started on their story. And Michael likes to start from the beginning. I like to start from the middle. But in this particular case, I'm going with Michael today, and we're going to start at the beginning because you guys are not film. We're not film people at all when you started this film festival. So tell us how this film festival came about.
Okay.
So let me do the first little part,
okay,
and then you jump in, because it really started with we were at a film festival in Denton, actually downtown Denton, a documentary festival. And when we left, I had Harry seeing something on goat cheese or whatever. He was like wondering at the end, why did you drag me to this? But as we're walking down the street, he goes, and this is in 2014. He says, there's not a lot of Black cinema that's just available to us. We ought to do a film festival. Mm-hmm. And I looked at him and thought, what? Thought he was crazy. But, he kept thinking about the idea, was ruminating with him. And then we had a couple of female friends, and they picked up, he pitched the idea, mentioned it to them, and they picked up on it. And, he started meeting with them, and I let him take it from there because I was a slow adapter. I mean, I need to know. I'm a person about doing things. So it's like once we know we're going to do it, I jumped in, 150%. But the pre-planning and stuff, and the idea thing is this man.
Yeah. So so I'm the president of a scholarship foundation, and we were looking for ways to raise funds for students because a number of the people that gave to the foundation did not look like us, right? But the students were Black students, right? So, so I talked to the board after we, I talked to my wife about it, and then the board, although they thought I was crazy because that was not the business we were in, they said, "Okay, we'll let you go." And so we started the festival. And I do remember, TK, when you came into church, I did say hello. I did greet you. I did ask you a couple questions about why you were in Denton. And then you told me that you were a screenwriter. And then I said, oh, we're doing a Black Film Festival. And you said, oh, so what class am I supposed to go to? So anyway, so you were right. But, we were in the beginning stages of it. But, it's been a journey. So we're entering our ninth year. But, we've grown. So in the beginning, first year we had a day and a half festival. We had 800 attendees.
13 films.
The next year we tripled in size. We had about 2,500 attendees over 3 days.
Yeah, I think we had 26 films that year.
And so, and the last in-person we did was 2020, and we had 9,000 attendees over 5 or 6 days. I can't remember. So prior to the pandemic, we were going roughly 30% year over year. So, but we are, I like to think of it as we are more of a next generation film festival. So we're really more like a South by Southwest. So we'll screen 100 films, but we have music, spoken word, comedy, dance, workshops, panels. We have an institute. So a year-round programming through our institute for creatives and filmmakers. So it's and we're all volunteers, but it is quite an experience. But so we enjoy it. So we have a lot of passion about what we're doing. But we believe are a place where people enjoy, films and filmmakers.
Right, and it's just and while, as I remind the group all the time, film is the heart of what we do. But there are all these other elements of storytelling, and that's what the connective tissue is between all of these, because whether you're using art, dance, comedy, spoken word, all of those things are elements of storytelling. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all about.
Oh, man,
there are many stories. There are just many stories that need to be told,
Yeah, I love all that. So what was the experience like creating and setting up the festival, like the journey?
Oh,
yeah, good question.
Yeah, and it was a journey. It is a journey.
So I think the one thing that whenever you use the word black
Mm-hmm.
in a sentence or a title, I think you have people that pause. And in our case, we had people that literally not only paused, but they stepped back and said, a black film festival, why would you do that? And so we said, because we're black. And we think it's something that we feel that is important. And so then the next question was, well, what if we did a white film festival? And we said, or I should say, I said,
Yeah,
I said, you have one every day.
Exactly. Oh my goodness! Like,
but
I
you just
wish
don't call it. You just don't call it white, right? And so that really, I think, to your point, Michael, it has a lot to do with sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with people asking questions about, can I attend, and will I be welcomed, etc. And so we navigated through all of that. And the bottom, and we've been trolled, right? But we navigated through all of that. But the bottom line is that we said that there are stories that need to be told about our experience. We believe we can put together a compelling festival that will allow you to really see stories that you may not have, but also we can create a safe haven for people to talk about race, diversity, equity, LGBTQ issues, all those kind of things. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm,
social justice is a big part of what we do. So each year we try to, or we not try to, we do, we highlight different topics or different things because we know a lot of the issues, whether it's climate change, whether it's food, deserts, all these issues, health challenges and everything. If it's something that's happening to the society as a whole, we know that it is impacting us, people of color, even more. I mean, if they're beginning to feel it, it means that it's already, on our neck. I mean, it's just, happening. So we need to highlight some of those things and not just the problem, but also people that are working on the solution. What is it we can do? How can we help? How can I do something to make this better?
yeah, and you talked, Michael, about earlier when you and TK were on the phone. We talked about how people should do their research, right?
mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of research about festivals. There's primarily two types of festivals. One is an industry-led festival, and the other is a audience-led. And so we felt like in order for us to be successful, since we did not know a lot of celebrities, we were better off looking at a audience-led film festival. Because one of the things we realized very early on is that filmmakers, while they really love their craft and they do it for the passion they have, they really would like to have an audience, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think all of us, and TK and I have talked about that infinitum, is going to film festivals, and filmmakers that pour their heart and soul into films, and they have 5 people in the room, right? Or 2 people in the room, right?
Me and my daughter. Me and my daughter.
And so one of the things that we really focused on is putting butts in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the last in person, we were averaging somewhere around 125 people per screening, right? And that's an average, right? So, probably anywhere up to, 50 to 200 and, really 300 because of the largest theater. So we would have sold out theaters. But I think that was important distinction for us to separate ourselves from other film festivals because we do a lot for filmmakers, a lot, but we also say we need to give you an audience, right?
Yeah.
And we want you to understand that so that when you come, and TK has that experience where people come and go, wow, that's really great. People came to see my film. In fact, they were lining up 30, 40 minutes before the film to see it. And so that gives us great joy.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of filmmaking. If you look at festivals, like my second experience at a festival, you got to send them your poster. You got to create postcards to go. You got to, now you don't live there, but you got to market your film to be at this festival in an area you don't live at. So you don't know anybody and you can't necessarily make the connections. Now you might know somebody. You may be one of those filmmakers, like I said, that have built that infrastructure of having a network. But first timers, second time filmmakers, they often don't have that network. Even in social media, they just join a filmmaking group and promote. They don't really talk or build relationships and network. And so to go to a festival that already has an audience ready for you, which does the other aspect is word of mouth is the best advertisement. It's the audience that's going to say, oh, this was a great film. Oh my goodness, I'm glad I saw that. So for you guys to do that, that's important. And that should be like one of the key points that should go like bling to a film festival. Like, okay, I need to go somewhere that there's butts in seats that can talk about my project.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, I think the other aspect too, in this world of this digital world, I think there are people who wonder whether they should actually put their film in a film festival, right? And so, you know, we hear that more and more. But and I'm not just saying because we do a film festival, but I think it's really important as one of your options, right?
Yeah.
And because you want to get a reputation of creating really great films. And before you actually come up with a distribution deal, and that's a topic for a whole nother session, right? But we know filmmakers that are independent filmmakers that they're known. You know, they do commercial projects, they do narrative films, documentaries, etc. But they're known on the filmmaking festival circuit, right? Whenever they produce a product, it goes and they still do film festivals. And as soon as that film drops in a festival of note, it spreads. People are like, oh man, this person's film is there. One of the example is Yaki Smith, right?
Oh, I know Yaki.
When Yaki drops something, people are like, wow, I don't know if anyone's seen Juneteenth, but amazing documentary, right? But so there are reasons why filmmakers still submit their work to film festivals, because I think it's important to build that audience, right? And build your street cred and have people like we get comments all the time from other judges and other people in the industry who will call us and say, oh, by the way, I heard about that film or something going to drop. What do you think? Did you guys have it at your festival? Blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, we get a chance to really kind of talk about the filmmaker and the film and all of that.
Yeah, I think the part about the film festival, like I go two ways. Film festivals can be very expensive, right, to a filmmaker if you don't plan for it.
True.
Which you got to be careful. You got to be selective on the film festivals you put your film in. But if you're a first-time filmmaker and you are trying to build those connections, and that laurel is very important to marketing and advertising. For just having the selected, you know, you didn't have to win. It can just official selection means something, right? Like I'm big on, like I'm kind of big on showcases, because with film festivals, people tend to look at trying to win something or thinking they should get an award. Where to me, a showcase is just saying there's nobody's getting an award here. You're just getting your content seen, which is really what you want more than anything. Because we're not competing for anything here. The key is we don't have to compete for an audience. And I think that's the misconception in our community is we're too competitive to each other for no reason and don't think that we can function in the same space together to make it viable. Because I often tell people I can go to a cookout, our cookouts, and I can see Coca-Cola, Shasta, Pepsi, Lipton, everything in the same cooler, and just reach my hand in there and pull something out that I want.
Mhm.
And it's all at the same cookout. Nobody goes, oh, we're only going to have Pepsi at this cookout.
Pepsi
Or
products.
we're only going to do this. And why do we think like that for somebody else's product, but when it comes to our stuff, we feel like we're against each other. And it shouldn't be a competition. It should be, how can we get our content seen? Where can we go to get an audience? Because you guys are in Dallas or outside of Dallas. And what I say to filmmakers is we have to look at building our audience based on different locations. So the most important places for a Black filmmaker would be Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Texas, Dallas, and Houston. Then you have Los Angeles, Atlanta, the DMV, which is Baltimore and DC. So you have those major cities. You got Louisiana, which is New Orleans, right? Where we live. So once we start in Detroit and things, once you start building those audiences there, those places, it spreads to the other places outside and it grows. So that's the importance of a film festival, because what you do, you're in Texas. Like Texas, I used to live in Texas. I lived in Killeen and I lived in San Antonio. And it's a big state, you have. So if your reach is so big, and people coming from everywhere, because I know Yaqui from San Antonio. He used to go to the high school I taught at. And so, and so like the reach gets so big, and now you've grown this audience. And now if you get Texas alone, just that state alone, I often tell people, we as independent filmmakers, we don't need big numbers. Like we don't have to have 1 million viewers to sell a product.
Right.
Yeah.
10,000 to 100,000, you're on.
Absolutely.
Depending on your
I
budget.
think the other thing though is when you look at festivals, filmmakers also need to vet festivals, right? Because not all film festivals are created equal. Politics. And so, as an example, my background is sales and marketing, right? From a corporate perspective, right? So the first thing I think of is, how do I help someone brand their product, right? So one of the things that's really different about some film festivals, right, is, and I'm not trying to be funny, but there's home cooking sometimes, right? Right. In festivals, right? And so, but we don't do that, right? I mean, that's not something we do, right?
It's a real conscious effort for us, and we do have a competitive program, but we also, I guess I look at it like, even when we do our awards program, it's a celebration of filmmaking, and we do recognize certain films, what we think were were juried films. And then when we do the virtual festival, we'll have an audience favorites or whatever. But, and it's not, I agree with you, it's not about the awards. It's nice to receive one. I mean, it helps with your film, and sometimes there's a monetary, or like Panavision, we've got a $20,000 camera package for the best narrative and best documentary. So those are nice to pick up, if you get them. But it can only be one, but everyone, gets an opportunity when you have an opportunity to have your film screened and have bodies there and people seeing you and you talking about your film, that you just can't replace that, that experience.
I think the other thing, a part of that is, it is what people find with our festival is that the level of communications they get, filmmakers, and to, TK can speak to this, is, I think, more than they see at other festivals, right? Because we believe that if you're, we keep our prices competitive, we think very, very affordable, but we believe that a filmmaker really should be heard in terms of their voice. We want to treat them with dignity and respect, so that when they're there, we want to make sure a lot of things are available to them. Their film is seen just like everyone else's film, right? And so we create this theater environment, right? So we screen at Alamo Drafthouse. For those who are familiar with that, it's really a extremely, I think, powerful film theater, and then also a historical theater which seats 300 people, and that's something that people have thought about. So I think it's important for filmmakers to examine film festivals, look at their sites, try to understand what it is their emphasis is, etc. And we've been very clear that we are an audience-led film festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's, we think, is important, because as we talk to distributors about, they'll say, well, what do you guys have that I might be interested in? We can kind of share that, right? And then help people. But I think the more that filmmakers select those film festivals, as you say, that they want to attend, the better off they are, right?
And that's studying it, what type of films that festivals, gravitate toward or whatever. We try to really run the gamut. One thing that I want to do is show the breadth of work that Black filmmakers are doing. So whether it's something that's sci-fi or a comedy, those can be hard to come by and very difficult to do, actually.
Sure.
And yeah, and but just all different genres. I love a good drama, I love a good documentary. So to just show the breadth of the work that people are doing. And two, for people, when you're submitting to a festival, you want to know is, and TK knows this because she works with us on this too, is we have a team of people that watch your film. And it's, there'll be some industry people and like TK, but there are also people that just love film, just people that are discerning, that we think are really discerning. The audience, the people that you're expecting to go see your film, So we're looking at the film. Several people are looking at it. So every film, if you submit to us, it's going to be watched. It'll be watched by more than one person, typically up to 3 people, maybe just 2 if it's a green light on it. We'll move it on to the next round, in terms of our selection process. And a word of encouragement to those that don't get selected. Sometimes it's when you're putting together a schedule for a film festival, curating something, it's really difficult. Putting things together like a short film block so that it flows the topic of the films, and you just don't want to just throw anything together in a block. You want to be able to give people an idea when you're marketing it, what type of film, films that they're going to be seeing in that block, perhaps. So, and putting together, so it's the length of time, it's how much theater space, that we have, how much time, how you can put together the lengths of the films and all of that goes into it. So there are films that are good that could have been in the festival that won't be selected because there wasn't space for it, or maybe there was another film with that same topic, same edge, and it, that was maybe a little bit better. So, we felt like our team felt it was too, because it is still subjective. We know that, and you know that too.
I'm glad you said it. It's all subjective. But what I tell people is festivals are based on time, right? So if you get let's say you get a 7-minute film on the topic of some social topic. Let's say it talks about Black empowerment, right? Financial literacy. And you get another film that's 20 minutes talking about financial literacy. But the 7-minute does it so well in 7 minutes, you can fit some other films into that slot. And unfortunately, the 20-minute film can be so good. You're like, yeah, we want this, but it doesn't have the time for me to fit more material in there.
Right. And it's all of those things that you think about it, and just trying to put it together is just, it's a puzzle. It's a jigsaw puzzle. It has me up at nights, working on that schedule. But
the other thing we found too is that our audience, we have people in the 9th year, we have people that have been coming to the festival all, 8 years, right? Going into 9th. And a lot of it, we didn't realize that people vet our films, right? They literally say, there's a lot of competition. In Dallas alone, there's almost 30 film festivals, right? And so people vetted us and do vet us now to say, we want to see what your roster looks like. Because sometimes in film festivals, there's an 80-20 rule, right? You got 20% of the films that are really good, and then you have fillers. Well, we don't do that, right? So our films are really outstanding. And so filmmakers know now that if they're selected to DBFF, my wife is in charge of film programming, and kudos to her and her team, they know that it is a privilege and an honor to get their films in DBFF, right? And the way I think you can do that is you look at our lineup compared to other Black film festivals, and some filmmakers will say, "Man, I didn't see a lot of films in other film festivals in your festival." right?
Mhm.
And so, we can't speak to why, but they said, but I can tell you that you guys have a very good lineup.
And we, I mean, I have to admit, I like a little bit of edge on things too sometimes. So, sometimes there will be some films here where people will wonder, huh, this is interesting. And it may not be for you, but it is for somebody else. So also in trying to show that breadth of work that people are doing. I don't want like television and other things do these cookie cutter formulas of, this is how you do something and this is what people want to see. Well, I want to show that there's different ways of looking at something and doing something and presenting information too. So, we look, we try to show, like I said, that breadth of work that people are doing. Sometimes it can be a little crazy, but, or a little, you wonder, but
Let me ask
that's
you
the thought
this.
process behind it.
Unless TK, you got a question or?
I have two.
Okay.
I have two comments.
All right.
You're not gonna forget what you got to say, right? Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Because I will forget. I'll be like, wait, I had a thought. One is the last in person. So when they talked about the people of other races stepping back because it said black, the last in person DBFF did, I looked over and the welcome table was white. And I was like, and I took a picture and I was just like, wow, because some people may say, oh, you're trying to get in, whatever, but these people actually get it and support it. So they, they understand it and they get it and they're not, you know what I mean? So that it made me feel good at the same time, like, yes, like everybody gets it. Like you get, Black Filmmakers Lounge. Black Filmmakers Lounge is a title, but we're talking about best industry practice for independent filmmakers. So
Right.
Black, because we do want to, try to cater and make sure our people are getting what they need, but at the same time, everybody can come and get what they need.
Yeah,
So
I laugh because I remember TK where I showed you. They said, "Why has it got to be Black Film Festival? Why has it got to be Black Filmmakers Lounge? What if we had a White Filmmakers Lounge?" I said, "You do. Anytime you guys get on and do a podcast or something on social media talking about your films, I'm empowerment for all people, but we have to think about who doesn't get the support initially in the beginning or equally. We talk about equality, but we also have to talk about equity. And these are all buzzwords in the community.
Sure.
But the truth is, how can we be equitable if we don't have anything that's really supporting what we do? Now, if you got a problem because somebody puts their community first, then you have to go back to your community and say, oh, why are we first? And I always tell people, whatever your argument is for one thing, you need to look at your counterpart and paste that same argument. I can name all the white film festivals. So, and it doesn't have to have white in the beginning. We put Black to let us know that we're empowering our people and we're giving them opportunities. Because, and I had to tell people this because people are like, oh, there's an agenda. Everybody has an agenda. My agenda is empowerment. My agenda is ownership. My agenda is we are storytellers of our culture, our history, our people. And that's how we learned who we were because it was passed on. And so with film festivals, it has a empowerment of telling stories. Like, what if somebody burned all the books and all you could watch was what was on TV and hear music? Then you can only see what's at a festival. So we can tell our history and not get, let's say, whitewashed from history and what goes on in our culture. So that's why we have this. That's why we do this. And I love Black film festivals because I don't have a problem putting my films in other festivals at all. But I know that I'm going to support me first, just like all other cultures have supported their own first. Because the flow of money, to me, needs to circulate within our community, too.
But I think also, too, Michael, is that so our audience is about 80% Black, 78 to 80% Black, and then the rest is non-Black, right?
Right.
And so we have a very large non-Black audience, and part of that has to do with we believe our stories need to be told and shared, and so they've gotten it, right? So, in fact, my wife told me last in person festival, there were at least
a couple probably screenings. I looked in and went, boy, I think I see more white people in here than black people. I mean, it's just the topic was really of interest,
and we believe that's really important, and that's something that you see in our videos. That's something you see in our promotional, is that we believe in diversity.
Right.
And so that's important.
Yeah, and I think it's because too, we say we do two things. We share Black culture, and we don't need to just share it among ourselves.
Right.
We're part of the issue now is that other people don't understand our history and our culture. So we need to be sharing it, broadly. And then too, we build community because we are in this thing together, whether we want to be or not. We are in this USA here, trying to live together every day, do what we need to do, take care of our families and our communities. So, we've got to build some kind of community together somehow. You have
And
to coexist.
They're quality films. They're not just films thrown together, regardless of the race. They're not films thrown together. So when other audiences come, because we give a pass for some reason to bad Black films. We continue to do that. They continue to be made. It is what it is, and it's the truth. We give a pass to bad Black films being made, and it irks the hell out of me. For real, for real.
Well, see, you and I stand on different sides on that because there's no perfect movie. And I don't feel like we give a pass. Let's take Nollywood, for instance. When I was young, Nollywood was coming up. All their movies we're like, okay, well, let's just watch it because they got good stories. And they built their infrastructure and got better. They still have now low end because of budget. You're still going to have what we deem bad because of somebody's budget. But the quality improves because they get the support. The problem is we are, and I hate to say this, we are in and out supporters. We support this, then we go, nah, I don't support. Everybody's starting out. Now, in what we deem good is subjective. Like I can see something of poor quality, but have a great story. I'm like, man, if they had the money, they could have really did something here because the story is good. But it's also mentality of being cheap. But that comes with business. Are you going to spend all your money? Okay, it's like the Tyler Perry argument. People always talk about how much money he has and how much he puts in his production, right? And they're like, he has so much money, he could have did better. He didn't get that much money spending all his money. Like as a businessman, you got to go, I'm not going to spend all my money. I'm spend as much as I need to still garner what I need from my audience and make the money back. Because that's a business mentality.
But when you said the key word build, and that's what I'm talking about when the key word build, because to me, you can, with all the technology and how good low end cameras are and all that stuff right now, to me, quality and budget, in these day and ages, it's almost like you can have a low budget film and still have a good quality film.
But that comes with education.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Education, research, wanting to give your best, not just throwing anything out there for the audience. That's when I say a pass, because there are filmmakers, you can watch their work. And like you said, Nollywood, what did you say? It built, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of our films are still looking the freaking same because nobody's trying to build. Everybody's just trying to throw something together and throw it out there. That's the ones I'm talking about. We just say, okay, well, they tried. Okay, well, they tried. Well, 10 years later, how much trying can you do? Like, when are you going to, you know what I'm saying? So that's because you already know my thing, and y'all know, I tell y'all, if I ask you for $1 or ask you for a minute of your time, you are getting my very best, and I'm making sure of it. Like Tina said, that's all I got is my name. All I got is my name. And when you hear my name, that's why you got to be careful, people, of course, what you attach your name to at all times, because when you see my name and you ask me about a project I'm gonna be honest with you. Say you might not want to watch this. Say, hey, you might want to check this out. You ain't want. I just was hired to work on this crew, so I'm just telling you.
I think it has to be the perfect meld, though. I think you got to kind of find that middle ground, because let's just take history for that matter. I don't. You guys are familiar with Canon Films, right? Back in the day, Canon Films did things like I Come in Peace, a lot of the Charles Bronson movies. Those were all low budget movies, and they were
Okay. Yeah.
killing Hollywood. Like they were hitting theaters. You can see a Cannon film coming out. It's just that here's the mistake they made. They spread themselves so thin and spent a lot of money that it ended up crushing them later because they were putting way too many things out. I can't remember, was it Jewel of the Nile or something? And it was their thing to combat Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, but again, it's nothing wrong with low budget and good and decent quality because their movies were decent quality. We had, but in this day and age, I think the market is pushing much higher quality. They spend more money and do less. So like when you look at TV shows, we used to watch TV and you can have 28 episodes in a season. Now it's like 7 to 10 episodes.
Okay, 10
right?
whole episodes.
Because they got good actors and they're putting the quality into the story and the acting. And so Idris Elba can be in a Luther on television. And he's done like, you know, I think Luther, when it first started, was 7 episodes. Then it came down to eventually the last season was like a movie more so. But you can get the budget to have him in a show and garner that audience. And you're spending the same thing for a television show, but you're doing less.
Right.
I think also, though, and I do kind of understand what TK is saying, because, you know, being a storyteller in many ways is a gift. And I see, you know, low budget films, but they have good stories. Right. And I'm able to follow the story, even though they don't have the budget. But we've seen a lot of really bad films. And they have money, but they're not good storytellers. And in fact, and I've heard conversations that my wife has had with some of the filmmakers who are like, why didn't my film make it? And, you know, and so you say, well, you don't really want anyone to critique your film. And then I've heard her and seen her go through in great detail with the filmmaker about that. And so sometimes the filmmaker will say, wow, you're the first person who's really told me those things, right? Because to TK's point, nobody really tells them their stuff is junk, right? And they need to kind of figure out how to tell a better story, right?
Maybe the characters needed more development. The acting just wasn't as strong as it needed to be. You know, you got a good story, but hey, you're not delivering it. It's hard to follow along. Or sometimes, you know, we'll get a film and you'll watch it and people, you know, my people on the team or myself, if I'm watching, you have to go back and read the synopsis to understand what you saw, you know, and that's a problem if you can't figure out what this film is about and you've seen it, you know. You have to go back, oh, that's what they were trying to say.
You got to read,
you know, and I know, or if I have to view something 2 or 3 times to get it, you know, to really get where they're coming from. Well, when we show a film at the film festival, people get to see it one time. We don't have to, we're going to play this again for you right now so that you'll get it eventually, you know, watch it 3 or 4 times. You know, or if it needs to grab people too. Sometimes films will be where, you know, a feature film, you know, it doesn't start getting good to like the 30-minute mark or something. And it's like, no, you're going to have to grab people in those first few minutes for people to want to sit there and stay and watch, you know. So there's certain things that have to be done.
Your 3-hour film.
So, and you know what? That's what I like about a film festival is mentorship. Like when you take the time out to say, what did you do wrong? Or how could you improve your project? If you're going to be a filmmaker, to me personally, you should be open to some level of criticism, but there's a way to criticize. Like too many on social media are just negative mentality, where true criticism is to help you improve your work. And shout out to Cassandra Hollis. When I was at the Kingdomwood Christian Film Festival, she was one of the judges that let the films in, just like TK was. And she pulled me aside and she said, do you want to know how you could have improved your film or what hurt your film? Right. And we had a conversation and she's like, cause you have a good story. Your actor did this. You should have got a different actor for this. Or You're editing here. These were and then, so when I did my next project, my work improved because of that knowledge. And I'm always about people getting mentorship or having those conversations. You can't be so closed-minded that people can't tell you something about your work, especially when they're trying to aid you in improving to get where you want to be, and that's how I am. I'm like, I absorb. You might get a little defensive because as an artist, you care about your stuff, but pocket your defense mechanism for a second and say, are they trying to help me or hurt me? Because there's a difference. Somebody says, oh, because my dad helped break it down to me. He said, here's the people you should care about. Don't worry about the people that all tell you, oh, it was great, it was good. And the people that say, oh, it was horrible, horrible. It's the people in the middle, because they're going to tell you a lot more. They're like, I like this, but why did you do this? And how come you went this way? Or could you have done this differently? When they ask you questions to challenge you, to push you, it makes the difference. And that's the big thing to me about film festivals is networking and mentorship. Because the networking piece is you meet other filmmakers, you get to talk to people who've done it. I met it when I was at a festival. I met Valiant when they were on a panel, and I was asked to come on the panel, which is crazy. My first time out, like, why are you independent? Why do you go this way? And that's the thing. Those panels with those seminars at film festivals, that's where for a filmmaker that's viable. The audience is very viable. But coming there and getting that education that you offer, hearing the information, those sessions. I used to be mad because I'll be at a film festival. I want to see this person's movie because we done network so well. And you got this great session going on. And you're like,
at the same time. Yeah.
Y'all need to replay that movie later or have the session happen when the films aren't happening, please. And that's how I felt. But I think my question is, how did... what's life after the Denton Film Festival for a filmmaker that is an alumni now of the Denton Film Festival? What's like, how do you help them beyond the festival or after the festival? That was my question.
Good question.
Okay. Well, one thing, we try to be really accessible. So people know they've got my email address, my mobile phone number. They can reach out to me. If there's anything we see too, because we are doing things year round. So when other opportunities come up, if another festival, like last year, another festival approached me about curating some short films for that film festival, because they were trying to increase their reach of minority, or people of color, their films, which weren't getting submitted to them, of course. But, okay, I'll curate a program for you. So get that word out there about these filmmakers, So we try to do that. We'll work with people to get their work seen if there's other opportunities that come up. We try to let I have a filmmaker list. So when there are grant opportunities or other things that come out that we become aware of, and we hope someday to be in a position ourselves where we can provide some grants or money for people, because we know that's like the first need that filmmakers have. It's money, that's a big one. So we hope to be at that position at some point where we will have funds to actually put toward projects as well. But in the meantime, we can let as we're becoming known as a festival, there are other groups that do grants and things that reach out to us. And we like to pass that information on so that these are opportunities. There's money over here where you can apply for this. This is what they're looking for. There's a mentorship program or something here. So we're always willing to try to pass on that information, as well.
Yeah, and also we have a family first belief that once you become a part of DBFF, either as a filmmaker or creative, you're just part of the family. And so we do everything we can to promote you, communicate with you on a regular basis, so you're not one and done, right? So you're on our email list, and so whenever we have something, we do have soul talks, at least probably 8-9 times a year. We have different speakers. We'll let people know what's going on there. So we do a fair amount to keep them in the family, if you will. And then we have several filmmakers who come, every year or every other year, right? Because they have projects, because they like the fact that they are family now.
Right. And and they know, it doesn't guarantee you getting into the festival or your film in, but they know that it's going to be looked at and given every consideration.
Mhm.
And it's like a two-way street. We can reach out to you, but there are a lot more of you than it is of us. So we need, you to reach out to us too. And that because there's filmmakers that really understand that. So they make sure that they continue to have a relationship with us. So if something happens, their film does go into distribution or something, well, let me know. We're going to publicize it through our network, through a newsletter, through our social media or whatever. We'll let people and promote what you're doing.
And one of the things that we really are proud of is that a lot of the growth in terms of submissions and really good films have come through filmmakers that telling other people about their experience at the festival. And so, we get to your earlier question about Texas, right? 10 to 15% of our audience is outside of Texas.
Okay.
So they come from New York, a lot from California, New York, Indiana, Minnesota. So we get them from all over, right? And some film festivals have told us, larger film festivals, 25, 30,000 attendee film festivals, said we get more people from outside of the state than they do, right? And they're trying to figure out, how do you guys get so many people from other parts of the country? And the reason they know that is because they attended our festival as community partners, and they just started asking people, where are you from? Where are you from? And they're like, man, how do you get all these people from California and New York and Indiana? Where they come from? We're like, we don't know, but they do show up.
So what's the next level for the Denton Black Film Festival? Like, is there anything you're adding in the coming year? Because you've already had your current film festival happen, or is it coming up?
It's January 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a really good
submit.
question. I'm sorry?
Can people still submit?
Submission ends October 24th. So you've got
2 days.
You got 2 days.
Yep.
Y'all heard?
If you've been ready, if you've been staying ready, you should be ready.
Right. October 24th. That's the date. So it's
days.
doable. We're on Film Freeway,
Yeah, so as I said earlier, Michael, is that, a lot of people think we lost our minds, and we probably do in terms of our programming. So to your point, I spent 40 years in technology, working for, tech companies, and we're going to have a tech expo this year, right? Okay. And so we're going to talk about the merger of film and tech, right? So we're doing that, and we're expecting 3,000 to 5,000 attendees for the tech expo. We're also having a hackathon for middle school, high school kids. Focuses on gaming. So we're going to be doing that as well. And then this will be the first year that we're back in person. So we're really trying to help people come back to the festival. So the Tech Expo is a huge thing, right? And I'm not judging.
I'm a tech teacher, so yeah.
Okay, so it's not 1 year, but we're trying to say 3 years from now, we think that we can do some great things, because a lot of tech conferences, as you know, they're about bringing resumes and getting jobs, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not what this is. We think it's important for tech companies to show the community what they're doing, right? And that technology, and they can network. So, Peterbilt is an example of a transport provider, right? So they're going to be at the festival, and they're going to talk about 30 to 40% of all long haul transport cabs will be remotely driven in the next 3 or 4 years, right?
They were just selling a stock for it. And I think it was Elon Musk bought in, Gates bought in. Yeah, there's a is the opening investment is 50,000.
Yeah, but if you're an individual though, and you don't know that, you're going to get a job as a truck driver, right? Hey, man, this is a great career. And then someone says, oh, no, you really need a gaming background, right? So, what? Because the long hauls will be remotely driven, right? So we really want, corporations and companies to just say, hey, this is kind of what we see in the future, right? And then people can begin to get their grandkids or kids, and even as adults say, I need to think about my career differently, right? And so I think that's really something that we're hoping to do. The metaverse is a real thing, right? So it's going to change the way that
Yeah.
people are looking at filmmaking. So we want to talk about that, you know. So and TK, you know, one of the things TK is real every day, all day. And one thing she talked about was she loves the master classes, right? And so TK, we're running with what you said, and we're going to be offering some master classes, some really good ones. You know, screenwriting and some other things, right? We've talked to some people, but yeah, so those are things we're trying to do, Michael, and it's really for the community.
Yeah, I'm glad you're trying, because we've been talking about the metaverse and films for the metaverse, writing script, because gaming script writing is totally different than film script writing, where
Right.
you got a game called The Quarry right now, and they have I think up to 100 different versions of the script, because it's a choice game that you, if you choose this option, this happens, and it's based on the character's psychological choice, who they are and how they function, that how their choice they'll respond to the situation, and then what will happen to them. So they have so many scripts done. But even with films, that people used to think about that a long time ago. Oh, what if you can go to the movie theater and you can vote on what happens next, you know, or experience the smell of the scene. And see, for me, I'm big on technology, because I'm a tech teacher, and I've always worked up for the last 17 years. I've worked in tech schools, but I've been teaching filmmaking, television production, things like that. But I did do first robotics and digital media and some other things that, you know, design and web building. But I tell people all the time, that's where things are going. There's 3 things that our community should be into, which is tech, anything technology, robotics, app design, engineering, and then agriculture, because we got to need food, we have to have resources, and physically building, like homes,
right?
Buildings and architecture and stuff. We should really be in those industries, and then yes, definitely banking, finance, things like that, and education.
Right.
And so for you to do that and talk about that, because I'm always like, who in our community designs cameras and lights and the equipment we use for filmmaking? Is not none of us, which is odd to me, that we're not in those industries and in the forefront building the next or the better red camera, building or going in even for, because you got companies like Apple right now, they're putting a lot of energy in improving the cameras in those phones, that you use those phones for the film industry, which is odd, but it's not odd. And then they're also building electric cars, so that in the glasses. So we need to be paying attention to that, because we need to be investing in that. And then where's our part in that? You know?
Right.
And that's really the impetus on our part, because what we recognize is that in some cases we are laggards, right? And so what we want to do through DBFF is say the metaverse is going to happen whether you believe it or not, whether you invest or not. Now, if we can expose you to it, it may change the way that you actually tell your story, right? Because you may not need a physical location. It may be a little expensive today, but it won't be in 3 or 4 years, right? And so if you can begin to wrap your mind around, how do I tell this virtual story, right? And come up with this virtual location and background, then I put myself in a position to potentially tell a better story, right? And so what we want to be is forward thinking. We want people that come to the festival to really be excited about the fact that whatever DBFF does is forward thinking, right? Forward movement, right? And so that's what we want. And
I have a question.
While you're there, have fun, eat some good food, and have a good time.
Will the Denton Black Film Festival go VR? Like they get thrown from home, put on some glasses or put their cell phone in and come attend the Denton Black Film Festival, sit in their own virtual seat and see people actually at the festival, because that comes with cameras and certain things, but then to still have the experience at a certain cost, because maybe they can't make it, but they can make it in another way.
Sure. In a virtual.
And the answer will be yes. I cannot give you a time frame.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, that's really clearly where we're headed. You know, we when we talk about the festival, it's an experience. It's not an event. So when people come, you know, because one of the things I think both of you know, that when you go to film festivals, sometimes you're one and done. Hey, I did that. I checked it off my bucket list. And we're not, our model is not set up for that. Our model is every time you come, we want you to be like, wow, this is really great. And the secret sauce is really the people, right? The people that you meet, the networks you create, relationships you create, all those things are important that we don't have control over, but we can hopefully put you in an environment where you can have those experiences.
Yeah. And
See,
that
and
kind of, you say
no,
something?
go ahead, TK. That's what I love. That's what I was. That's all I was going to say. That's what I like
I was
about
gonna,
that.
so this goes to my gyms. This is really my gym.
Okay.
Tone mentioned about the distribution companies and wanting to see certain images of Black people. And what I will say to that, Tone, is, and to everybody else, I understand my why. So I don't care what the distribution companies want to see. Whatever God gives me, that's what I'm going to do. And He's going to put it to where He needs to put it. And I'm not going to bow down and do certain things just because to get a distribution deal. That's what I'm personally not going to do. I will let something sit on the shelf and rot before I bow down.
But you
So
don't
that,
have to. Like,
that I mean, that's like
right.
when we talk about sex. You know, everybody says sex sells, sex sells. Well, I got a movie that I wrote with no sex in it. I think it may have. I think it has one little makeout session with the roommates. Remember I was telling you, Michael, it's $60 million budget, no sex. I mean, like we plant these things in our head and we think because this is what we see, we have to bow down and we have to conform, and we don't. I understand my why, so I'm not. So whoever want, you know, whatever you need to do, I guess you need, you know, but that's just how that's my mindset.
But you got to understand your audience. That's the thing in building that infrastructure. We're sitting here talking about a film festival that they can be a part of that festival, that, you know, you can have a late night thing where there are movies like that, but then you have the family, then you have the PG-13 type films, then you have the G films. And so now if you got different people attending, you get to test your project out at a festival to see who your audience is and how they understand it. It's not, the problem is we keep letting people become gatekeepers when there's no gate for them to keep. Because if you are the creator of your content, you're your own gatekeeper. And it's the mentality. It's that post-traumatic slave mentality. Okay, the post-traumatic slave disorder. Your thinking is who taught you to be you, who taught you to think the way you think, who taught you what the American dream is. And you got to get rid of all that and say, I'm free, and put my films out there. You got prime examples. And this is a question of Black Filmmakers Lounge throughout there is who's a director and an actor that you admire, and what was their process to get where they are, and what did they take of their skills incorporated in, and research that. Well, if you look at 50 Cent, he was a rapper, started off drug dealing and all that stuff, and moved into a business industry, which he had a business mindset in illegal ways. But right now, he has one of the top, basically, TV shows on Stars, and is moving away from Stars, if you guys are following him, and doing other stuff. And he moved to Texas, by the way. He moved to Houston, to live in Houston, to help in their schools and education, put money in there. So I hope y'all get with 50, because he's not far from Denton. But to talk about production and empowerment, because that's where ownership comes in. His only thing is I don't know if he owns power yet, because he created a power universe. But when you own what you create, you can go anywhere, do anything you want to it. Now, yeah, he had sex, drugs, and all that stuff in it, but that's because of the type of stories he's making. But if you're making you know, movies towards children, you're not going to have that in there, you know?
Yeah, you don't have to throw stuff in just, the distributor company's going to look for sex, so I better throw a sex scene in. That's what I'm saying. Write your movie, write what you're supposed to, and it'll go where it's supposed to. You don't have to just throw stuff in just to bow down. That's what exactly.
Yeah,
that's
they're not in charge. You are. And so if you're aiming it, here's the thing. There's an audience everybody's missing right now in our community. As a teacher, I invite filmmakers to come talk to my students. I've said this before.
The tweens.
They cannot show their material to my students because there's profanity, there's sex, there's stuff. So there's a whole audience. And schools, I remember schools used to pay like $300 plus for a movie to be in their library. I'm talking about $300 plus. So selling your movie was like back in the day when you used to sell, when Blockbuster sold movies before they dropped. You could buy the VHS for $300 or whatever back then, Arrows and Blockbuster and all that. That's the same thing for a school system because they have a budget, they have money, and people aren't looking at the bigger picture, how to push their films. You know, if you got a film about marriage and how to work on your marriage and improve your marriage, you can sell it to churches with a workbook and create a seminar. And now your movie's being seen plus rented, plus, you know, they're never looking at the multiple streams of income or the different variations of licensing. And I think that's where social media lends itself to. If used right, we can grow all these things. And that's where you got to plan. That's where you got to figure out what's my objective and stop saying, oh, I have to do this or distributors don't want it. Distributors want what you guarantee audience. Nobody thought they'd want the people on social media, but now they're asking all these social media people to be in movies and TV shows because if you got 1 million followers, they're going to go watch what you're putting out there.
And the second thing I had was, Darrell, when you talked about vetting film festivals, that's another big thing for me because I've been to a lot of different film festivals. I've been to good ones and I've been to bad ones. I've been to film festivals and I saw somebody online saying they got in and I was like, sent them a private DM because I knew the experience I had at that. And I said, this was my experience, but I'm just giving you a heads up, but you know, check it out for yourself. It's okay to ask people because like Michael said earlier, film festivals are expensive. You got to fly, you got to, or fly or drive, you got to rent a car, you got to rent hotel rooms. So when you go, you want to make sure you have a great experience. And I have seen people come from afar, and I've been from afar and been to film festivals, and I was like, what the heck is this? And so vetting those film festivals and even going to film festivals you don't have films in. Like, you know, like within Black Film Festival, I'm not saying it because I'm part of it. It is one of the best film festivals I've been to. And not because I'm a part of it, but because I've been there on film festival days and I've experienced and I know the work they put into it. I know the audience is actually there to see your films. You got line, like they talked about the lines waiting to get in. That's true. They have people, they have lines of people waiting for the next film, but they provide an experience for the filmmaker to come and feel the love. So that's, you know, it's different films. Vet them.
Are you guys still doing the scholarships and still helping the youth with the film festivals with proceeds? See,
so the film festival is actually grown much larger than we thought. So we have a separate 501c3 for the film festival. Same board still. And so, yes, we were doing some, but we realized that the foundation itself, that we're still doing that for the kids. But in order to qualify for certain grants, we had to become a separate 501c3, right? Right. So we have both organizations are doing very, very well.
But one organization is giving back to that other organization to support it and help it. Right. Yeah. So here's because let's just be real. There's a lot of film festivals. Most of them have to be 501c3, but they're not giving to the community or they're not supporting. It's like, hey, they're in this to make some money off of people and move on. Right. Where you got in this and you still have kept that basis. Like, yes, you need to get paid. Every nonprofit and people work need to get paid. But your thing was to help youth. And now you're coming up with other ways to help with the technology, with the other seminars. And then again, the master classes. So you're bringing something viable that gives back. So when we support the festival, we're also supporting a community and we're creating, remember we talked about creating a pipeline that if we create our own pipeline, we don't have to jump in someone else's pipeline.
Right.
You got it. Because, you know, the thing is, and to put on a festival, I mean, ticket sales are important and we need people to buy passes and tickets and all that. That's essential. But you can't put on a festival just based on that. So there's sponsorships or other elements and things that we have to look for grants and other things. That's one reason we had to separate it into its own 1053C. But because it does take a lot of money to run a festival and to be able to do the things that we want to do. So we like to, when we have money left over, whatever we can in terms of giving it directly to the scholarship program. But we also, I will say too, that we are not, like my husband and I, we are not paid staff or anything. We don't get money from doing this. We're at a stage in our life. We're retired from other jobs and stuff, and we're able to this has been a passion project. That is how it started, how it remains. We have a lot of really good people in the community, TK and other people that volunteer their time. They're not being paid to do this work. We know that we're going to a point. Yeah, we're growing to a point where we are going to need some paid staff or something as we grow, trying to grow our infrastructure. But, we're not spending money on exorbitant salaries or people, getting to do this or fly here, fly that or whatever. I mean, when I've gone to film festivals, it's been out of my pocket, our pocket, to do things. So we're, careful with the finances and the money and what we're trying to do. But this is our legacy, our giving back,
Oh, I like that. See, I'm a legacy person.
That's what it's about, I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line of what we do and why we do it,
And so again, and this is where I'm trying to get people to understand is that supporting some festivals like the DBFF, you're giving to the community. You're doing something and it's a chance to build something for our community. I'm all about community.
Yes.
And empowerment. And so that's why I asked, like, what's life after the DBFF? Sure. Because if filmmakers are connecting with you or they're getting your guidance, because the question to from a filmmaker to you guys, now I'm going to put my filmmaker hat on. What do I need to have to get my film in your festival? What are the standards that my work needs to meet? What deliverables do I need to present so that I can be successful at the DBFF?
Okay. Well, to get into the festival, you've got to submit to the festival. You've got to have a good story. We look at that. We make, we know allowances, people, that budgeting does have an impact. Sometimes the stage of where you are in your career as a filmmaker, will impact your work too. So we, don't shy away from first-time filmmakers or people that don't have a lot of experience. But you've got to have a good story. It's got to have a good flow to it so that we can, and you need to just tell the story in the amount of time that it needs to be told in. Don't, sometimes people throw in, especially with features, throw in all this extra stuff that you really don't need, and that takes away from the story and the flow of it. So that's what's really important to us. But first of all, it starts with the story. And then the execution is important. It needs the sound, things, acting. It's terrible when there's a really good story, but the acting just doesn't deliver on it. And, you can't use it or select it because of that. But then once you've been selected to the film festival, we have a couple of sessions that we have, Zoom calls that we have with filmmakers. We have a filmmaker guide that will give you information on what you need, how we need to receive your content, because sometimes it's based on whether, if we're at a theatrical screening location, we may need a DCP or work with that, and we'll try to help you with that, because sometimes that's something that not all filmmakers are doing yet or up to par on, especially for short films. But then if it's at our campus location where we bring in a production team, we don't have DCP capabilities there. So, but we'll let you know what we need. We have a virtual element to our film festival too. So there's a way that we need, usually we'll use Inventive as the platform that we've used in the past. So there's ways we'll let you know how we need to get your film for that so that we can put it on the virtual platform. And we'll send you information and guides, about hotel rates and just everything you need to know about being there. And like I said, we're accessible, so you can always shoot us an email or call, and, we'll try to provide the best information that we can and help you as much as we can. And it's a two-way street. We will be trying to communicate. We've got a lot of films that we've got to tell people about. So we also need your help too with your network, whatever that is, to let people know, that you're going to be in the Denton Black Film Festival too. So we look for opportunities when we can, with the newspapers or whatever to highlight, the film, what we're doing, and some of the films that are in the festival, so
What
yeah,
about
and basically.
posters and electronic press kits, things like that? Is that
Yeah, when you
something?
submit to Film Freeway, we hope that you put a poster there because
Mm.
a lot of things we will take from that. That's easy for us to go pick it up. And if we need to make a physical copy of it because we're going to have it in the theaters, we can get it from that. Or, if we're going to, when we go to that virtual world, I'm going to need that. So we need like a log line, just brief synopsis of what your film is about, not 3 paragraphs.
You say brief.
Uh, you know, of what the film is about. And, we need that poster or trailer. Usually, if you'll do Vimeo or YouTube, we can easily use those for promotions. Um, and that you don't, postcards. And if you want to bring something, we'll have a table or something where you can set something out. I don't know that, that is an expense I wouldn't necessarily go to, you know. Uh, but being there too, and I've talked to filmmakers being at the festival and talking to people. You just never know. I mean, you drum up some of your audience too, people that are there to see other
Mhm.
films that may not know about your film or whatever. When you meet people, they want to support you. So sometimes it's your presence there. It can be really important as well. Um,
Yeah, the
anything
other
else
thing too,
about that?
Michael, is we probably have an average of, I'd say, 12 to 16 workshops and panels.
Mhm.
So, and historically, 90% of them have been free, right? And
Okay.
just filmmakers to, educate them, as you said. And so we think that's really important. We had one on lighting because a lot of filmmakers have problems with our skin, right? So
Right.
we did one on lighting and other things. So, and
Good.
this year we're planning on doing some things in audio
Okay.
because
Definitely.
we do get film still that audio is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Screenwriting, as I said earlier. But there are some things that
Mm-hmm.
lighting. So we're just trying to figure out how to help people, produce better quality film.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
that's where I look at stuff is by helping people, because I had an idea, and this is just Michael Melvin talking right now, is that helping people create the film, like investing in a workshop that year round take on a small group and walk them through the entire process to get a
Mm-hmm.
short done for them to screen it. Because I think some people are very afraid because
Mm-hmm.
you've been sold a bill of goods to say, oh, filmmaking is very expensive, right? And it can be, not saying it's not,
Right.
but your first project, my first short really didn't cost me a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it into a festival. But a lot of people go, how'd you do that? Because I see people going, I got a $10,000 budget for a short film. And I'm like, what? You can make a feature with that. Like what?
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot for a short film.
Yeah. And I'm amazed by that. But to have that, where they have that mentorship, walk them through that project and give them an idea, or talk to um like I would love for um the alumni of the DBFF to come and mentor and talk to other filmmakers and say, this was my process, this is why I learned, this is how we got into the film festival, this was life after DBFF,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how DBFF helps us, and you guys should aim towards putting your films in there because they're going to do this with you. And then building that network, because like I said before, the one thing about festivals, I will tell anybody, my coolest friends that I have that I can just call up and be like, hey, you want to come on the show? I met them all at film festivals, like, and and
Right.
they've been to other film festivals that I haven't had a opportunity to attend yet. But that relationship, and because, oh, this festival knows that you're friends with this person because they're connected, and it's that, again, the
Yes.
pipeline. And so I
Mm-hmm.
would
Mm-hmm.
love to see, how Denton Black Film Festival helps the filmmakers move beyond. And I mean, I can, we could talk about some other stuff, things like that off air, but
Yeah.
I'm a component of supporting what we do, you
Right,
know,
right.
and I want filmmakers to be thinking about that, how. So should we be at the DBFF? Yeah, y'all should be there because
You
you
guys
know.
should be there, whether you have a film there or not. I'm telling you, you can thank me later. Thank you, TK, so much for telling us to go because I'm telling
Wait,
you.
won't you be there this year, TK? Or coming up?
I have a project that I've signed on to be a key PA in January. Okay. So depending on, I know when they told us the dates that it moved to, I was like, wait a minute.
Okay.
So,
Because I was about to say, y'all
that.
should meet TK. How you gonna meet
yes,
people if you you know what I'm saying? Like TK's there, you meet her,
yeah.
and then
So
y'all should go.
but you know what? You know what? Maybe we can go as the Black Filmmakers Lounge. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
we need to figure
tap
that
in.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap in and see if they're still,
I mean,
but
I got to go to Texas at some point anyway.
they have
Yes.
pushed it out. Yeah, they have pushed it out. And
My
they were like,
family there.
I was like, so we're gonna see, but my plan is to definitely be there because it's been a few years since the last in person was right before I moved to Atlanta, which is in 2020. But yes, I'm going to. I had already when they told me the date, I was like, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, but yeah, maybe we can go and the Black Filmmakers Lounge. We both can't
host
go.
a podcast from there, talking to the filmmakers. I mean, we could look
that
would be.
and have a
we
sit
can
down
talk about that.
Yeah,
look,
we need to talk about it.
I'm just inviting ourselves there. But yeah,
well, no, we'd love to talk to you offline
Absolutely.
about that too, because
absolutely.
there are things I'm really intrigued by your project and things that you're working on, Michael, too, and other things that we can. I want us to be able to have some conversations, or you in conversations with other, filmmakers, and encouraging them and teaching them, showing them the way and what's been beneficial for you and how things work. Because that's how you really learn. And, we have two universities here. University of North Texas. And yesterday we were actually on campus at, there's this, what is it? The Black Cooperative of Black Filmmakers, a group in the 90s that was there at the university doing some amazing things. And they've gone on to have really successful careers. And they came back to the university last night.
Oh, wow.
And shared with students, giving them some of the tidbits of things you need to do, how they're moving in the world. I was so impressed because they were handing out their phone numbers and email addresses to students. And for those that are smart enough to take them up on it, because, it's a business. It's about networking and knowing people and learning, and that's what you have to put yourself out for. So those students that are serious about what they're doing and, want to do something, that was just a fabulous opportunity last night. And it was so wonderful for us just to meet them and hear about how they got started as a group, to see these, and they've been in contact. It's probably 30, 40 people now. Last night we had probably about 15 of them from the collective.
Yeah, we had about 10.
Yeah, from the collective that were there. And so it was a reunion for some of them. They hadn't seen each other for a little while, especially with the pandemic and all that going on. So, it was just awesome. But it was that thing that you talked about, Michael, is just how do we work together and promote each other. And that group, there wasn't competition between them. It was them working together and celebrating each other's, successes
and
accomplishments. So
and so we're really hoping to do something with them in the future too. But these were people that have become executives in studios, major studios like Paramount, and also in music. There's some like behind the scene music moguls, and just to listen to their body of work was really amazing. And they're doing a lot of films now, like really narrative films, studio films. And so these are people that, you may know names, but, one guy he's a major editor for many of the blockbuster films you see, right?
Okay.
And these are all Black guys, Black women, right? So we're hoping to, showcase them moving forward as part of the festival, right? And I'm not talking about 1 year, but, continuously. And so our desire is to get a group of filmmakers like yourselves and we have 20, 30 of you, and
Mhm.
we get funding for you, right? So that you can go out and make your films, right?
Right.
And that's really, our goal is really to say, how do we come up with $500,000, $1 million a year, and say, it's available, right? You guys go, make things happen. And so that's really kind of a goal, but that's why we need the sponsorship. That's why we need eyeballs on DBFF, because what we're telling the community is needed, right?
Mhm.
And to tell stories, right? And what I say is, how, what would black cinema look like without a European gaze, right? And so you begin to think about, okay, which is good for the entire industry, right? That we're doing things where we think we can tell these stories, that we're not begging to say, well, what if we don't put a black person in it? Would that make you happy, right? Yes.
Mm.
Well, I'll give you money, right? So those kind of things that we know filmmakers go through, right?
Right.
Yes.
Or they say, well, we think that person's hue is too dark. Can you put a black person in that has a fairer skin, right? So crazy stuff, right?
All
So
realistic.
Or bring in the white savior to the material that wasn't even there.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it and that's important that we look at that. So I am all for that. And we definitely have to talk, of course, off show. And that's the thing, because that's also to me about networking, building good relationship and rapport. That that's what I teach anyway. But is there any jewel, because I know we gotta wrap up, so is there any 60-second jewel you would like to drop in for the audience to remember and have a great walk away from this, even though the information you presented has been awesome and magnificent?
Well, what I would say is that there is very little around the country that is like DBFF. It is really a cultural bonanza that if you come in and embrace what we do with film and music and spoken word and comedy and dance and all of those things, you'll find a community that's very welcoming. And, I think you will be experiencing some good stuff. I don't know if my wife.
Well, I'm just going to add the dates. The festival is January 25th through the 29th for the in-person festival. And then we'll have a virtual component of the festival that'll start January 29th through February 5th. So check us out.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. So January, get ready.
Camera, Damon, good to see you back. Thank you guys for joining us as well. And all of you who have not commented, that I know you tap in and out. My mom's not listening today. She usually doesn't. She's working today. But yes, so all of you guys for supporting us and coming on and listening. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all. My one jewel today is, as always, be strategic, intentional, and authentic. And you will be successful in all that you do, all that you say. We would like to thank Linda and Harry Eaddy for joining us today on the Black Filmmakers Lounge. We appreciate y'all. Hey, y'all got to get the right thing. And then, we got to get you the air horn right there, because this has been awesome knowledge dropped. And we hope that everybody's learned from it. And Film Festival, y'all submissions go to Film Freeway, DBFF, Denton Black Film Festival. You have to submit by the 24th. Today's the 22nd. But like we always tell y'all, you don't have to get ready if you're already ready, because you stay ready and you got something to drop in. So put that film in so you can see it. And even if you don't see it, let me help you out. It's okay if it doesn't make it. The point is, you tried and you wanted to see. And then ask if you got a question. Hey, why didn't it make it? Maybe they say it was good, but it didn't fit in the top slot. But here's what we liked about it. And then, because that should encourage you. I've always been encouraged, and I always tell people, when you put your film in, you probably get somewhere between 5 to 10% of your submissions that you're gonna go selected. Because I can put in at 10 film festivals and 2 might take it. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also timing. So, and if you got the film though, you know, it could be next year. You know, don't think like that. You know, resubmit it again, and then it might fit into the slot. So don't ever be discouraged if you don't make it in a film festival.
Right.
Absolutely.
But know why you're putting it into a film festival. You know, what's your plan? Because they're not your advertisers, even though they do it for you. It's not their main job to advertise for your specific film. What they're doing is helping the collective.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, we just want to thank you for allowing us to be on today and, you know, share some thoughts and really understand more about what you guys are doing. So, which is really great. And so we like the Filmmakers Lounge, and, you know, we'll, you know, let people know more about it.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll love to bring you guys back on. And, you know, if you got people you want to send to us, hey, let us know. We'd love to bring y'all on.
Okay, good.
So we like to thank you guys for joining us today. I hope everybody is watching. You have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Go out and make a film, do a project. Before we leave, we got to drop this. Thank you for hanging out with the Black Filmmakers Lounge Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, my co-host, Tamira T.K. Henderson, and our special guests, Linda and Harry Eaddy. And we like to just let you know the Black Filmmakers Lounge is a place where independent films, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that advance the Black independent film community. So, I know that's a lot to say, but keep that in mind. That's what we do. And we come together creating our own space so you can succeed. So hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Again, thank you to the Eaddies. We've been blessed by your presence and your knowledge and insight. And submissions, y'all. Like, subscribe, share this podcast, live stream with all your friends, family. Let them know. Thank y'all. And we see you later. Peace.
Like, subscribe, share.
What?
Subscribe, share.
And we out.